Ah yes, hello there. Welcome to Cryptid Central. Today's video will be about another 10 cryptids that you've probably never heard of. There's something for everyone here, traveller. Perhaps you're interested in learning about the surviving dinosaurs of Africa. Or perhaps gigantic spiders are more to your liking. Or are you looking to learn about some terrifying unknown sea creatures instead? We have these and much, much more at Cryptid Central. Number 10. The Hook Island Sea Monster. Off the coast of Hook Island, Queensland, Australia, there is a 90-foot sea monster that resembles a giant black tadpole that has an enormous mouth, small teeth and eyes that sit on top of its head. The Hook Island sea monster was sighted in 1964 by Robert Lesserick and his family when it charged towards his boat with its mouth wide open, looking as though it were about to attack. Lesserick noticed that the creature's tail was injured, either by a ship's propeller or by an even larger sea-dwelling creature. He stated that he could only see its head clearly once the creature had gotten to within 20 feet or so of the boat. Its head was quite large, around 4 feet from top to bottom, with a gaping mouth about 4 feet wide. The skin was smooth but rather dull, like that of a shark, and was brownish-black in colour with brown rings repeating along the length of its body, while the eyes were a pale green. He said that he saw no fins or spines, or any obvious breathing openings, although he believed that there would have to have been some, being an underwater creature. The creature's teeth appeared to be small, and he also noticed fragments of a sort of dark substance hanging from the upper row of teeth. Behind its head, the body was a little over 2 feet thick, and remained that way for about 25 feet, where it gradually tapered into what he described as a whip-like tail. Just as it seemed it would swallow the boat, it suddenly swam away. Lesserick managed to capture photographic evidence of the creature. Some claim that these photographs are doctored and fake, and that they have simply been edited to look a certain way. We must remember, however, that these photographs emerged in the 1960s, long before the days of Photoshop or editing software. To forge photographs of this kind in the 1960s would not be something just anybody could do, and would have taken tremendous skill, skills of which there is no evidence of Robert Lesserick having possessed. The Hook Island sea monster has been described as one of the most credible of possible undiscovered cryptids, and one of the most likely to exist. It is also notable in the fact that there is actual photographic evidence, as is the case with the Loch Ness Monster or Bigfoot, though the sea monster that dwells in the waters off Hook Island is nowhere near as well known. The eyes are just visible in the photo taken by Robert Lesserick, and this is perhaps one of the most frightening of cryptid close encounters that we know of today. Number 9. Julia. While some cryptids are known through stories and others are known through photographic evidence, there is one cryptid that is known only through a recorded sound. Julia, as the creature has since been nicknamed, was recorded in March 1999 by the US-based National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA. It was recorded using a piece of equipment called the Equatorial Hydrophone Array, and lasted for 15 seconds. NOAA researchers have officially stated that the recording is the sound of a large iceberg running into the sea floor and nothing more. But since when were government agencies worthy of our trust? Some say that Julia is in fact a gigantic ocean-dwelling creature, a sea serpent perhaps. Or maybe what the NOAA recorded that day was the sound of the Kraken going about its deep-sea based business. I will play the sound that was recorded that day for you now, traveller, and you can judge for yourself. Number 8. The Grootslang. We must now temporarily take leave of the ocean, traveller, but we will be back soon. For now, we will be heading to Richtersveld, South Africa, where in a deep, dark cave there is a bizarre and frightening cryptid said to resemble a half-snake and half-elephant hybrid. The Grootslang, Afrikaans for big snake, is a legendary creature said to be as old as life itself. The tales told by the ancients state that the gods, who were new to the crafting of living things, made a terrible mistake in the Grootslang's creation and made it too strong, too cunning, and too intelligent. Realizing that they had made a grave mistake, the gods split the Grootslang into separate creatures, creating the first elephants and the first snakes. But one of the original Grootslangs escaped, and from this first evil specimen all other Grootslangs were born. The Grootslang, possessing similar characteristics to elephants, is said to be able to trick them by using the same communication methods they use amongst themselves. It can lure them into the cave it inhabits, and then, once it has one cornered and trapped, it devours them. The cave that the Grootslang we know of inhabits is known as the Wonder Hole or the Bottomless Pit. It connects to the sea, which is 40 miles away, and would suggest that when the Grootslang isn't hunting for elephants, it could be spending time in the ocean. Is it possible that the Grootslang could, when spotted in the oceans by seafarers, be taken for a sea serpent? It has also been said that, along with its cave, the Grootslang can live in warm lakes and rivers. A monstrous, semi-aquatic beast, just as at home on dry land as it is in water, and eats elephants. No wonder the powers that be want to keep this cryptid hidden from the public. Descriptions vary slightly by region. In Benin, it is described as a huge elephant-like creature with a serpent's tail. It has also been depicted as a snake with orange gems for eyes. Some say that Grootslangs have magpie-like qualities and have a particular fondness of gems, particularly diamonds, and despite the creature's lust for cruelty, victims can often bargain for their freedom by offering a Grootslang enough precious gems. In 1917, while searching for treasure in Richtersveld, South Africa, English businessman Peter Grayson disappeared after members of his party were attacked and disappeared. The official story states that the Grayson party were attacked by lions before they went missing. But a treasure hunt in Richtersveld would have logically taken them to a cave where diamonds are said to be plentiful. A cave inhabited by the Grootslang. Number 7. The Slide Rock Bolter. We go now to the United States of America, Colorado to be exact, where high up on Lizard Head Mountain there is an enormous cryptid known as the Slide Rock Bolter, the bane of the lumberjack's existence in the 19th and 20th centuries. Said to resemble a giant leech, the Slide Rock Bolter clings to the side of mountains, its tough rocky skin blending in perfectly with its surroundings. It uses its dolphin-like tail with 2 strong grab hooks to gain purchase on a mountainside, with a preference for an angled slope of 45 degrees or more, where it can lie in wait comfortably. It waits and it waits, with incredible patience, for an unwitting victim to stumble upon it. When a hiker, traveller or wild animal wanders by, it lets go of the mountainside with its tail and quickly slides down the slope, its mouth wide open, and before the unfortunate victim even knows what is happening, blackness, for it has been swallowed, alive and whole, by the Slide Rock Bolter. The beast then crawls backwards back up the slope and latches onto the ridge to lie in wait again. It has also been said that its own speed will allow it to slide up an opposite slope once it has captured its prey. It's able to achieve these immense speeds through use of a thin skid grease that is constantly being produced in its mouth and is drooled out before it begins its descent. Though blamed for a great number of tourists vanishing, this hasn't stopped people venturing up Lizard Head Mountain hoping to catch a glimpse of the creature. The only problem is that for some, the slide rock bolter is the very last thing they ever catch a glimpse of. Number 6. J'ba FoFi. Back to Africa now, my friend, to find and observe a Congolese cryptid whose existence is guaranteed to keep most people up at night. The J'ba FoFi is not for the faint-hearted traveller. A giant spider with a leg span measuring between 6 and 8 feet when fully grown, this is a cryptid you had better hope you never come face to face with if you're ever travelling through the Congo. The first sighting by European explorers was in the 1890s, when British missionary Arthur John Symes and his men came upon one of the creatures. His men had gotten themselves tangled in an enormous web, and 2 giant spiders, 2 feet in length and the other 4 feet in length, thought to be a male and female, came out of their hiding place and attacked them. Symes was bitten by one of the creatures, but managed to escape after shooting one of them with his pistol. Shortly after this incident, he developed symptoms including a deathly pallor, severe chills, and severe swelling around the area where he was bitten. Not long after, he became delirious before falling unconscious. He eventually succumbed to these effects and died. Many stories of the J'ba FoFi describe its hunting habits. They are said to dig a shallow tunnel under tree roots, which they then camouflage with a large screen of leaves. They then create an almost invisible web between their burrow and a nearby tree, stringing the whole area with a network of trip lines. When a prey item unwittingly trips the line, the spider is alerted, at which point the victim will then be chased into the larger web. This behaviour would seem to indicate that the J'ba FoFi is perhaps a giant species of trapdoor spider. In 1938, a sighting was reported by an English couple, the Lloyds, who while travelling through what was then known as the Belgian Congo reported seeing a large object crossing the trail in front of them. At first they thought it was a cat or monkey, but they soon realised it was a spider with legs nearly 3 feet. Respected cryptozoologist William J. Gibbons has spent time in the Congo hunting for the Congolese surviving dinosaur, Mokele Mbembe. On his 3rd expedition in search of the creature, he came upon natives who related their experiences with giant spiders. They told him that the J'ba FoFi not only existed, but were at one time a common sight in the region, though their numbers did seem to be dwindling in recent years. The natives would typically avoid the giant spiders and would not be bothered by them if they stayed outside of their territory, though it was reported that they had killed them in the past. Sightings have been reported as recently as 2014. In 2013, a video surfaced on YouTube in which a J'ba FoFi was briefly caught on night vision camera in Mozambique. It appears out of the darkness near a watering hole before quickly scurrying out of view. Number 5. The Carnivorous Tree. The slender, delicate palps, with the fury of starved serpents, quivered a moment over her head, then, as if with instinct and demonic intelligence, fastened upon her in sudden coils, round and round her neck and arms. Then, while her awful screams and yet more awful laughter rose wildly to be instantly strangled down again into a gurgling moan, the tendrils, one after another, like great green serpents with brutal energy and infernal rapidity, rose, retracted themselves, and wrapped her about in fold after fold, ever tightening with cruel swiftness and savage tenacity of anacondas fastening upon their prey. This was an account by German explorer Karl Litsch, written in the Australian Register in 1881. about witnessing a human sacrifice by the Nkodo tribe of Madagascar, in which a young woman was sacrificed to a carnivorous tree. Carnivorous trees are said to grow in the deepest parts of the jungles of Central and South America, as well as in parts of Africa and along the shores of the Indian Ocean. There are many different descriptions of the plant, but the majority of reports say it has a short, thick trunk and long, tendril-like appendages which are used to catch prey. Smaller carnivorous plants are known to exist, the Venus flytrap being perhaps the most well-known example. As with other species of animals and plants, which can be related and yet differ greatly in size, could it not be possible that the carnivorous tree could simply be a large relative of the Venus flytrap? Its usual prey could be animals, but if a human being were to unwittingly wander by, the carnivorous tree would likely still seize the opportunity. Number 4. The Tatzelwurm. In the alpine mountains of Switzerland, Austria and Bavaria, there is a strange worm-like cryptid said to be around 3 feet long. The Tatzelwurm, meaning worm with feet, is said to be a cylindrical creature with small stubby limbs, similar in appearance to the mealworm, but with a blunt cat-like head and powerful jaws that house deadly, venomous fangs. The Tatzelwurm shares quite a few similarities with the Mongolian deathworm, another worm-like cryptid that makes its home in the scorching hot Gobi Desert of Mongolia. While the Mongolian deathworm spits a corrosive, acid-like venom at its prey, its Western European counterpart, the Tatzelwurm, emits a deadly toxic gas instead. There have been many Tatzelwurm sightings over the years. In 1723, naturalist Johann Jacob Schuser recorded an event in which a Tatzelwurm was killed by a man named Jean Tinner. Tinner had come across the creature on the Frumensberg mountain in Switzerland while walking with his father, and reported that it was around 6 feet long and was black and grey in colour. It raised its head quickly in an aggressive fashion, at which point Tinner shot and wounded it with a musket. Together, he and his father managed to kill the creature, though they decided not to take its remains home with them. In 1903, Austrian Privy Councillor A. von Drasenovich was told about a Tatzelwurm attack by a friend, who told him that a hunter at an altitude of 4,900 feet near Murau in Steiermark had encountered the creature. He said that it was around 19 inches long and about 3 inches thick. Upon approaching the creature for a closer look, it suddenly leapt at his face. He slashed at it with his knife instinctively, but the blade was no match for the Tatzelwurm's rock-hard scales. The beast wasn't finished with the hunter either. It lashed out at him again, lunging at his face 6 more times before turning around and retreating into a crack between some rocks. Tatzelwurm encounters were reported throughout the 20th century, and while some believe the creature to be nothing more than a skink or a snake, the sheer amount of reports made that describe this creature as being something else with highly similar descriptions cannot be ignored. Number 3. The Black Demon Shark. I told you we would return to the sea, traveller, and while this cryptid isn't quite as titanic in size as the Kraken, it's no underwater teddy bear either. Off the coast of Mexico's Baja California peninsula, the black demon shark, El Demonio Negro in Spanish, lurks in the deep. The black demon shark is a huge black-coloured shark, similar in appearance to the great white shark, only much larger. In recent times, several local fishermen have reported seeing this black monster, which is said to be between 20 and 60 feet long and weighing anywhere between 50,000 and 100,000 pounds. Some say that it could be a surviving megalodon, a prehistoric shark thought by mainstream science to be extinct. If the coelacanth has taught us anything though, It's that supposedly extinct sea creatures can turn up alive and well in modern times. Others suggest that it could be a new species of shark. We know more about the surface of Mars than we do about our own oceans, of which we have only explored a small percentage. It is entirely possible that a new species of enormous shark could exist in the unexplored depths, surfacing occasionally in the pursuit of food. My advice? Avoid the Baja California Peninsula. Number 2. The Kongamato. Africa really is home to a number of fascinating cryptids, traveller. We've looked at giant spiders, man-eating plants, and horrifying snake-elephant hybrids. When it comes to African cryptids, however, easily the most notable among them are the surviving dinosaurs and prehistoric creatures presumed to be long extinct. The Kongamato is one such surviving creature from prehistory. Making its home in the countries of Angola, the Congo and Zambia, the Kongamato is a pterosaur whose name, when translated, means breaker of boats or overturner of boats, as the Kongamatos are said to be fond of capsizing the canoes of natives and have also attacked people who wander too close to the riverbanks where they built their nests. The Kongamato is described as a reddish lizard with membranous wings and sharp teeth in its beak. Its wingspan ranges from 4 to 100 feet, suggesting either sightings of juvenile through to adult specimens have been made, or there are in fact a number of variations of this particular species, and they vary greatly in size. When shown a picture of a pterosaur, Congo natives said that it was a picture of a Kongamato. The accounts told of these creatures are similar to the ones that describe another surviving pterosaur, known as the ropen, which inhabits Papua New Guinea. There are several historic reports of European explorers being attacked by large winged creatures, and quite often people were reported to have received wounds from the Kongamatos. It is said to eat mostly fish, but occasionally they have killed humans for food. The Kongamato is also said to dig up graves and steal human corpses, because in Africa, the burial of bodies is usually not too deep. The smell of rotting flesh must be quite alluring to this flying menace. Number 1. Atmospheric jellyfish. We have looked at cryptids all around the world, traveller, and have seen some incredible, bizarre, and even terrifying things. The oceans are filled with cryptids and monsters, as are the jungles and mountains. But now, for our number 1 cryptid on this list, we will instead be looking to the skies. Up there, above the clouds, are the atmospheric jellyfish. These cryptids are, quite literally, beyond comprehension. Utterly baffling to the scientific community and defying all known laws of physics, the atmospheric jellyfish hovers above and has been the subject of intense debate for decades. As the name would suggest, the creature bears a strong resemblance to a jellyfish and has been reported hundreds of times by witnesses across the globe, from Norway to China to Russia. The first known sighting was in 1974, with the most recent being in 2015. There are many pieces of photographic evidence showing the atmospheric jellyfish from many independent witnesses from all over the world. To capture even one image of a cryptid is incredibly difficult, and cryptid photographs are rare. To have so many photographs of one type of cryptid from so many different places makes this case truly unique and exciting. Some say the atmospheric jellyfish is a cryptid, others believe them to be UFOs. The establishment would have you believe that it's simply a weather phenomenon or a trick of the light. But as we all know, the men in charge would much rather keep us in the dark when it comes to a lot of things. As you can see, traveller, there's no end of fascinating cryptids lurking out there in the shadows. Today we have talked about 10 strange and bizarre creatures, none of whom it would be wise to tangle with. The cryptid hunt is best left to the professionals. I know that you have an appetite to whet, however, and perhaps these 10 haven't quite quenched your thirst for knowledge of the unknown. In that case, I will tell you about one more cryptid. This one came as a special request by one of my wonderful subscribers, Paranormal Paratrooper, who asked that I talk about the American Dogman. This one's for you, my Australian friend. And if anybody else has a special request for a cryptid that they would like to see in an upcoming video, please feel free to leave a comment below and I'll do my best to accommodate you. The North American Dogman. All across the United States of America, there have been stories of dogmen, hairy humanoids with canine features who walk on their hind legs. There seem to be several of them out there, and individuals have been named according to the area they were sighted in. The Beast of Bray Road and the Illinois Dogman being two examples. There have been numerous reports of dogmen digging up graves, a trait that is certainly attributable to dogs. There is also photographic evidence of the dogman, further reinforcing the case for its existence. Cryptozoologists have been seeking answers to the mystery of the dogman for years. Some believe it to be a werewolf-type creature. Others think that it is a wolf cryptid, a new species yet to be discovered. Others, who wish to keep things as narrowed down as possible, prefer to think of all these sightings as nothing more than an escaped pet wolf. A number of cryptozoologists believe that instead of being dog-like, it is actually a type of Bigfoot, which is also a hairy humanoid cryptid, and that out of shock and fear, witnesses were confused and incorrectly described the creature's features when reporting their experience. This does beg the question, however, of how every single person to have reported seeing a dogman could have described it as being dog-like in appearance and not ape-like. Were they all confused? Do apes and dogs look at all the same? Of the dozens of dogman sightings to have been reported, was every single person mistaken in exactly the same way? Cryptid Central disagrees with this hypothesis. There are said to be around 7 million animal species on planet Earth, of which we have only discovered around 1.5 million. There could be a dogman out there, perhaps an evolutionary step between canines and a new form of humanoid. Many different types of humanoid are known to have existed at one time or another, the Neanderthal being the prime example. Other humanoids to have existed throughout history are the trolls, who stood at between 8 and 11 feet tall, and there are many other humanoids to have existed throughout the ages. A dog-like humanoid or a dog creature still on its evolutionary journey towards becoming a fully fledged humanoid could be among them.